Does the person create the journey, or does the journey create the person? I ask that you keep this quotation in the back of your mind as I reflect on my experience. We can describe a journey as a venture to the unknown, a walk to an unfamiliar place through unfamiliar surroundings, or scientific research leading to improved health of people across the globe. But often journeys are seen as tangible. There's a desired end to journeys that people create for themselves. Not often do we outwardly hear of someone's personal journey, one through the tangles of society and its influences on thought. Not often do we hear of a personal account of the journey that an individual experiences when their heart is held in the hands of a complete stranger. In this experience, we created our journey. We mapped the homes to visit. Every day had its own jam-packed schedule. Little did I know that time slowed, and my heart would be captured, and my person transformed, when the schedules that Americans are used to disappears, and the togetherness of Dominican culture took over me. Time didn't matter as long as we were together, something I didn't fully understand until the Dominican people shared their culture and their lives with me. This journey took me to an end that I never knew could exist or that I desired. My journey began when I stepped off the Gringo bus onto the rocky dirt roads of the Campo, where I was staying for the immersion. The stepping out turned out to be the most concrete and tangible experience of the 5 days we would spend here. At the end of the first night, Nini, the cooperadora of Latina and Sabana Ray, took 2 of us to the house where we would be staying for the 4 nights. We were first to get dropped off, and although I couldn't see it well through the dark evening, I could make out that it was pieced together with remnant wood, painted a nice tickle-me pink, and trimmed with robin's egg blue. Sheets of corrugated tin served as the roof of this place I still call my home. We arrived, and an elderly gray-haired woman with a slight waddle in her walk greeted us and took us through the front door. There was one dirty light bulb lighting the front room of her home that students had built for her several years before. She pointed to the picture above the bedroom doorway that showed all the students in front of her house, and her pride beamed from her wrinkled face. We set our bags on the top bunk. The bottom bunk would be where she would sleep with one of her grandchildren. The 2 of us each slept quite comfortably on a full-size bed. At the end of each night, which was quite late because my hostess Regina and her friends liked to play casino late into the night, Lucrecia, the elderly woman, would put a fan in the middle of our sleeping room. She stayed up late and watched us all play games and randomly laughed at times when things were said that I didn't understand. Every time that I looked up at her, she would smile. She would plug in the fan that was at least twice as old as me and watch it closely the first time it rotated to make sure that the air hit both of us. Each night, Regina would come in with us as we got ready for bed and make sure that no mosquitoes had snuck into our net, and then would tuck us in after we crawled into bed. Many evenings, we proceeded outside to sit in the plastic chairs, characteristic of Dominican culture, with her daughter's family that lived next door. My Spanish was limited, and it was during this time that I realized that that was the reason Dr. Michael said that it was preferred but not necessary for this trip. During these dark nights when communication was limited, because of my limited previous exposure, I realized that language can be a barrier when all you know are the beginning conversational phrases and can't recall that one word that you need to make your thought complete. But to understand the Dominican people, it wasn't important. All I had to do was feel and simply just be with this elderly woman that sat next to me, gently rocking in a plastic chair. It wasn't so important when we were sitting next to each other. We just enjoyed being together and being in each other's company. It was then that I began to realize the magnitude of spirituality to them. To them, there was a reason beyond their control that we had made our visit, and why every moment was one of immeasurable value. It was also then that I realized that I mattered to her. Time spent with someone, even if a complete stranger, is time being with one another and fulfilling a joy. A joy encompassing the thoughts that a complete stranger has allowed me to come into their home more than welcomingly, and is pleased with just sitting next to me without the exchange of words. She valued my company and I valued hers. We were there together and had made such a strong connection without even speaking. The Dominican people put all their time and energy into relationships, as that is the primary entity of value in their lives, as material goods are limited. And the limited things that they do have, they were more than willing to give us, even the little that they had. She made coffee, or sugar with a little coffee, for me every morning before we would leave, and have a meal prepared for me when we returned home for the day, even though we had already eaten at the cooperadora's house. We would sit together every night, every so often exchanging a smile and a quiet giggle. It was that smile and the warmth in her eyes that shaped my heart. She had nothing to hide and shared her everything with me, as that is the most meaningful thing to give to someone. Often in our society, we see the third world as poor, but what does that really mean? I didn't see or live with poor people by any means. Because they are without the things that we have doesn't mean that joy can't be held in their lives. A price or material value can't be placed on the relationship with another person. The people in our lives are what truly matter, not what we have or what things we define ourselves by. On our last day, and as I was leaving Lucrezia's home, which I felt had become my own, she said to return soon. For this reason, I feel as though I have a family in the Dominican Republic, people that I can't go a day without thinking about. The first step I took off the Gringo bus was the most defining step of my life. I experienced a joy that one could feel living without the influence of material goods that I could once have not imagined being raised the way many of us have in this country. I invite you to come walk this road with me. Although this part of my journey I can't touch or have defined physical reminders like the research that was done, this part of the journey is the most concrete, abstract experience of my life. And although the immersion was part of the journey that was created and organized by a person can never create a journey as influential as the one I was taken on, with the end still yet to be discovered. Signing up for this service learning experience, I thought I knew what I was getting myself into. The usual charitable work to the people of the third world, about which we have all heard. Little did I know that the giving and work that we did for them wouldn't amount to what I feel I left the Dominican Republic with. The third world is something you can't truly begin to understand until you live in solidarity with its people. To let your heart be held in the hands of a complete stranger, the most compassionate strangers you may ever encounter, and to let the journey create you.